Hello everyone. Today we're going to go over how to brighten eyes and make them look more dynamic while still keeping a natural look and feel. When doing this for the first time, it's easy to make eyes look too bright or too white or too sharp, which can make it look unrealistic. So instead, I'm going to show you a simple and easy way to do this by using adjustment layers, masks, and a couple of subtle enhancements that should have your eyes looking instantly better. The first thing we want to do is zoom in. That way we can work with a little more precision. You can change to the zoom tool in the toolbar, or you can press Z on your keyboard. So today we'll be working on the whites of the eyes and the irises. We want to try and make them look more lively, but also keeping them natural. So everything we do will be an improvement, but a subtle improvement. If it's obvious, then we haven't succeeded at keeping it natural. Let's start by brightening the whites of the eyes. And of course, whenever possible, instead of editing directly on the image, we'll use adjustment layers. This way everything stays non-destructive. So go down to the adjustment layer button in the layers palette, and we're going to add a levels adjustment layer. In the levels properties palette, we're going to move the middle gray slider to the left to around here, and we're just doing this so that we can brighten the image a little bit, but nothing too major. And then we're going to change the blend mode, which is right above the layers. We're going to change this to soft light to make it look more natural. And since right now the entire image is affected, we need to invert the mask. So click on the mask of the layers panel and go to the properties palette and click invert. Now that the mask is inverted, we need to select the white areas of the eyes. And to do this, we can use the object selection tool. Click on select people, click on the person in the photo, and you can click on eyes, and it will select the white area of the eyes for you. And then click on the lasso tool in the toolbar, and that way we can clean up any areas that we may not have wanted selected. Just press and hold the Alt or Option key on your keyboard, and then you can remove anything from the selection that you didn't want. Once you have your selection where you want it, you can click B on the keyboard to select your brush. Then open your brush settings. We want a soft brush. If you don't know where your brush settings are, you can go to Window, Brush Settings, and it will open the palette for you. You just want to make sure you have your hardness at 0 so that it's soft. Then you can close the palette. If you ever want to make your brush tip smaller or larger, you can use the left and right bracket keys to do so. Now just brush with a white color inside your selection. And then you can hit Command or Control D to deselect. Next, you want to go to the Levels palette mask, and we want to feather this just a little bit so that there are no harsh edges. Once you're done, you can zoom out, and you turn it on and off to see the difference. Let's name this white for the white of the eyes. Next, we're going to boost the color and contrast of the iris. So we'll zoom back in to 100%. Again, we'll go back to the layers palette and click on the adjustment layers button. And this time we're going to open a curves adjustment layer. In the curves palette, you'll see a line going diagonal. We're going to click and hold in the middle of that line and drag it up. You can drag it up a good bit. Just keep an eye on the irises. Don't blow them out. Once you get a good amount of detail that shows up, it's where you want to stop. And like the levels layer, we're going to click on the mask and invert it to hide everything. And again, we're going to need to select the irises only, so we can go back up to the object selection tool, select people again, click on the person, and this time you can click on iris and hit apply. And again, you can take your lasso tool, clean up any areas that you don't like. Hold the Alt or Option key to get the minus lasso. Press V on the keyboard to get back to the Move tool. Again, press B on the keyboard to get to your brush tool. Take the same soft brush, painting with white, and we just paint on the inside. You can paint over the dark part of the iris with black. can switch your colors over here. We want to keep that dark. You can do the same thing on the other eye. Then you can deselect that. And then go back to your curves adjustment layer mask, and we'll feather that so that it doesn't have such a hard edge. After feathering this, you can take the blend mode to overlay, and you can see that brings out a lot of the color detail in the eyes. This is extremely harsh right now, but we want to get it so you can really see it, and then we can back off on it with opacity to get it to where you really like it and it looks natural, not overdone. So I usually slide it all the way to 0 and then just start adding a little bit until I like what I see. Each image is going to be a little bit different, and you can change this as many times as you want since it's an adjustment layer. And then you can zoom out and see the difference. If you hold Alt or Option and click the eyeball next to your main layer, you can see the difference. It already looks so much better. And then we'll zoom back in to 100%. After the curves layer, I also like to add a hue and saturation layer just to get a little bit of color, and we can always tone the color down just a little bit to make the color pop. So we'll go down to the adjustment layer button again, add hue and saturation layer, and then just take the saturation up a good bit. Click on the mask. Instead of inverting this, we're actually going to copy the mask from the curves layer since it's affecting the same area. We're just working on the irises. So you can hold the Alt or Option key and then click and drag the mask onto the hue and saturation layer. And it will copy that mask for you, so you don't have to redo it. Then you can turn it off and on and see the difference in color. For the last step, we'll make the eyes appear a little bit sharper and more defined. The first thing we need to do is duplicate the background layer. You just do that by dragging and dropping the layer onto the little plus sign, or you can press Command J or Control J and it will duplicate the layer for you. Then click on the copy and go to Filter, Other, and High Pass. We want to set this radius between 1 and 2 normally. You just want to slide it until you start to see the detail in the eyes here. This is where it's going to start to really sharpen. Then you can click OK. And we're going to change the blend mode of this layer to overlay. And right now it's affecting the entire image. So we want to add a mask by clicking the mask button in the bottom of the layers palette. And this is another mask that we'll want to invert. So just click on the mask, click invert in the layer mask palette. From here, we want to click back on a soft paintbrush by clicking B on the keyboard. Then make sure you're clicked on the layer mask of the sharpening layer. You can name this sharpening just so you don't get confused. Click on the mask. Make sure you're using white to paint, and then we're going to paint over the iris. Make your brush smaller, and we're going to paint over the eyelashes just a little bit, just to give it a little bit of pop and draw the attention to the eyes. And do the same thing for this eye. And you can change the brush size tip as you're doing this so you don't affect too much. And then change back to the move tool. And then you can determine if this is a little too much sharpening or not. And you can use the opacity again to see where you like it or you don't. I think around 60 is fine. And then zoom back out. Then hold Alt or Option key and click the eyeball next to your main image for your before and after. And you can see it's not a lot of change, but it is still a dramatic change. And if you think it's overdone or not done enough, you can adjust the opacity of any of these layers at any time. Just remember, retouching is about making small adjustments to a lot of little things, and they add up to a big overall improvement. Hopefully that helped, and I'll see you next time.